everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Alex and today I'm going to be bringing you my January wrap up. Now I told you guys in my 2020 reading goals video that I am trying really hard not to put a lot of pressure on myself to read this month, and I feel like I did accomplish that in the month of January. I definitely still got a lot of books read. This was a very successful reading month. I wound up reading 13 books in the month of January, which I did not think that I was going to be able to complete, but the good thing about that is that I still did not feel pressured. There was a good 5 or 6 days right in the middle of the month where I didn't finish anything, and I was okay with that. So we still managed to get a really good number in, and I enjoyed everything that I read. So before we get into the wrap up, if you're new here and you're not already, be sure to go down and hit the subscribe button as well as the bell icon down below so that you never miss out on any of my content. Without further ado, let's get started. So very briefly, I'm going to give you guys a few stats about the 13 books that I read in the month of January. Now, as far as format, 2 of the books that I read this month were in print. 4 of the books that I read were ebooks on some kind of digital platform, and then the remaining 7 were audiobooks. As far as age range, I read 5 adult, 1 middle grade, and 7 YA. For the places where I got these books, 1 of them is on my own TBR, so a book that I bought for myself. 6 of them I got from the library, whether that be through the physical library or through the Libby app. 2 of the books were review copies. 1 book was given to me as a gift, and 3 books I read through Scribd. As far as genres, we were a little all over the place. I read 5 contemporary, 1 sci-fi, 4 fantasy, 1 historical fiction, and 2 mystery thrillers. And as far as ratings, I had 1 3-star, 2 3.5 stars, 6 4-star, 1 4.5 star, and 3 5 stars. Now I have already made a mid-month January wrap-up that I posted in the middle of the month, and I talked about the first 6 books that I completed in the month. So if you have not seen that video yet, I'll link it in a card above. You can go and check it out. I am not going to be fully reviewing those 6 books in this video, but I will really quickly tell you the titles of those 6 and what I rated them. First, I completed Starsight by Brandon Sanderson, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, which I also gave a 4 out of 5 stars. Birthday by Meredith Russo, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Kimmerer, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. And The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black, which I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. So after I finished The Queen of Nothing, the next book that I completed in January was After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now this story follows our 2 main characters, Lauren and Ryan, and at the beginning of the novel they've been married for about 6 years, and their relationship is really on the rocks. They have not been happy for a while and they're on the brink of divorce, so they decide to take a year apart from each other, do kind of like a trial separation, completely not speak to each other for a full year, and then at the end of the year they're going to come back together and see if they are willing to try to work things out or if they are going to proceed with a divorce. Now I really enjoyed this novel. I love everything that I've read from Taylor Jenkins Reid. I will admit I like her historical fictions a little bit more than I've liked her romances, but this one I did really feel like I connected to on a personal level. I am married. My husband and I will have been married for 5 years come July, so we are in the same, almost the same time period as this couple, and I'm very lucky and grateful and happy that we are not going through what this couple is going through, but you do start to lose that honeymoon phase, and the things that were endearing to you in the beginning might be annoying now, and a lot of that is portrayed throughout this novel, which I thought was really interesting. We mainly follow Lauren throughout this year of them being separated, so we get to see from her perspective, and they got married really young, so Lauren has really never been out on her own before. She's only ever known herself with Ryan, and she's never gotten to know herself just as Lauren. So it was really interesting to get to watch her go on this journey and figure out who she is and what she wants outside of being in a relationship. This is one that I think is one of Taylor Jenkins Reid's more underrated novels. I think all of her novels are pretty popular, but this is one of the more underrated ones. So if you're a fan of her or you're looking for a romance that's a little bit more hard-hitting, kind of a self-discovery kind of novel, pick this one up. I very much enjoyed it, and this was my first 5-star read of the year. After that, I finished the audiobook of The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. This was my second time reading through this one. I can't remember if the first time around I listened to it on audio or if I read it in print, but regardless, I listened to it on audio this time. I feel like everybody knows what this is about, but if you are not familiar, The Book Thief is a World War II historical fiction novel that follows our main character, Liesel, who is a young German girl living in the midst of World War II, and her foster family winds up hiding a Jew in their basement. So she is dealing with that in the midst of the war, and she is going around stealing books, and that is kind of her claim to fame, hence The Book Thief. The thing that a lot of people really enjoy about this novel is that it is narrated by Death. That is one thing that I definitely enjoy about this novel, and the audiobook narrator does an incredible job. So if you haven't read it yet, I would recommend doing it on audio. Now, this is one that I feel like so many people say that it's their favorite book of all time, and I can completely understand why. I just don't feel that way. I really, really enjoy it. I enjoyed it just as much the second time around as I did the first time, but it's just not my favorite piece of literature out there. I completely understand where the merit comes from and why people love it so much. It is heartbreaking. You get to know these characters. It's an incredibly character-driven novel, but you still obviously have a plot with the war moving on. So it's really, really well done. Markus Zusak is incredibly talented. I should probably pick up some more from him in the future. I wound up giving the book Thief a 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I listened to the audiobook for Twice in a Blue Moon by Christina Lauren. Now, this novel follows our main character, Tate, and at the beginning of the novel, she is 18 years old, and she and her grandmother are going on this 2-week vacation to London. Well, Tate winds up meeting this boy named Sam, and she falls for him instantly, and they have this whirlwind romance. I feel like the Goodreads synopsis says too much about what actually happens in this novel, so I will just say that at the end of that 2-week romance, Tate realizes that things are not exactly the way that she thought they were. And then the story picks up about 15 years later. I think that she's 34 when the novel picks back up, and she is an incredibly famous actress. Sam winds up coming into her life again, and she starts feeling the feelings that she felt all those years ago, and she has to unravel what actually happened back then, what went wrong. Now, this marks 3 Christina Lauren novels that I have read. The first one I read from them was Love and Other Words, and then I read The Unhoneymooners. The Unhoneymooners was an incredible novel. It was one of my favorites of 2019, and Love and Other Words was not one of my favorites. I will say, unfortunately, that Twice in a Blue Moon kind of falls on the same level as Love and Other Words. It wasn't my favorite, it wasn't bad, but I just expected more. Now, one of the biggest issues that I've had with this novel, and I feel like I've heard a lot of people say this, is that the first section where they're 18 and they're in London, I think that that section is too long. It takes up too much time. I feel like it was almost half the novel. I'm not exactly sure because I listened to it on audio, but it was really, really long. And I understand why, but I wish that we would have gotten more of just the present day because I enjoyed those sections more. I will also say, just in general, I wasn't totally convinced by their romance. I understand that they were, madly in love during this 2-week whirlwind in London, but then they immediately kind of pick up where they left off. Obviously, there are some trust issues going on, but as soon as Sam reveals his reasoning for why he did what he did way back in the past, Tate is just like immediately willing to go along with it and just say that everything is okay, and I wasn't convinced by that. So overall, I enjoyed this one, but it was definitely not my favorite from Christina Lauren. I'm definitely planning to pick up more from them. There are definitely more storylines of theirs that I am interested in. This one, unfortunately, just wasn't a huge hit for me. I wound up giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And after that, I read my favorite book of the month and my favorite book of 2020 so far, and that was The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery by Gabrielle Zevin. Now, this story is actually a little bit hard to explain. There's a lot that goes on in the story, but essentially, we follow our main character, A.J. Fickery, who is a bookstore owner on this little island called Alice Island. Now, before the start of this novel, Alice's wife has passed away, and he is obviously grieving and taking it really hard, and his bookstore is not really doing so well, and he's just really not in a good place in life. And then on top of all of that, he has this prized possession, this really old Edgar Allan Poe book that he is planning to sell and get a lot of money out of and be able to retire, and it winds up getting stolen. Right after this happens, there is a little girl that actually winds up getting dropped at AJ's bookstore with nobody there. There's just a note with the girl that says that AJ is supposed to take care of her and raise her, and the story kind of goes on from there. Now, this is one of those novels that I have heard a few good things about it in the past. I feel like it's a little bit underrated. It is backlist. It came out back in 2014, so it's been on the scene for a while, and it's kind of fallen under the radar. But if you love books and you have not read this one yet, I implore you to pick it up. There are these books that people say, this is the perfect book for book lovers, but this one really is. I feel like if you took that beloved curmudgeon character of Uwe from A Man Called Uwe and put it with the bookish love of The Bookish Life of Nina Hill by Abby Waxman, you would have A.J. Fickery. It is the perfect combination of some of my favorite books that I've ever read. This book is really short. It's about 260 pages long, but you get so attached to the characters. I absolutely loved being on this ride with them. I did not want it to end. I wanted to start it over as soon as I ended it. It was just so good, and it got to me emotionally in a way that I did not think that it would. So if you have not read this one yet and you're looking for something short and sweet and heartwarming and heartbreaking and perfect for book lovers, please pick this one up. I obviously gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. And then I wound up finishing 3 books in the last 24 hours, so we'll talk about those now. The next book that I completed was the audiobook for Come Tumbling Down by Shauna McGuire, which is the 5th book in the Wayward Children series. I can't say a whole lot about the plot of this because it is a kind of sequel to Down Among the Sticks and Bones. It picks up back with the story of Jack and Jill, who we met in that second installment. One thing that I've always loved about the Wayward Children series is that they're all really short. They're about 200 to 250 pages long, and you get so much out of that little chunk of these children's lives. Shauna McGuire's writing style just really pulls you in. It's not too flowery, but it's definitely got a little something extra that I just love. I loved getting to be back in this world with these characters, and it was just everything that I needed. It's just a quick read. I feel like everybody loves these. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Shauna McGuire has said that she will keep writing these as long as people keep reading them. So I am going to continue to eat them up because they are just the perfect tiny chunk of fantasy that you need sometimes. Now, this is one that I really don't have that strong of feelings about, to be honest, but I did enjoy it overall. I just don't really have anything positive or negative to say about it. So just in general, I enjoyed this one. If you've liked the series, definitely pick it up. It's short, go for it. I wound up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. Then I completed Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. Obviously, this is the first book in the Harry Potter series. I have been reading this one slow but steady throughout the month. I've been reading a chapter or 2 every day and got through it on the last day of the month. I'm not going to explain what this is about. I don't feel like I need to explain what this is about, and I don't feel like I need to give a whole lot of a reason for loving it. This was my first time reading this since my senior year of high school, which was 8 years ago now. And I just absolutely loved being back in this world. I'm so glad that I've decided to go on a mission to read this series over the first 7 months of the year. Loved it, as always, love being back in this world. Easy 5 out of 5 stars. And the last book that I completed in the month of January, which I finished just minutes before filming this video, is The Opposite of Falling Apart by Micah Good. Now, I did receive an e-arc of this book through NetGalley, so thank you so much to NetGalley and the author and publisher for sending me an advanced copy. This book is going to release on February 25th. So this book follows our 2 main characters, Jonas and Brennan. Jonas has lost his leg in a car accident, and he has been just trying to get through high school so that he can get off to college and have a fresh start. Well, Brennan, on the other hand, suffers from really debilitating anxiety, and she is really scared about leaving for college. It just freaks her out, the whole idea of it, and she does not want to leave. Well, Jonas and Brennan actually wind up meeting because they get in a fender bender at the beginning of the novel, and they wind up forming a friendship, and obviously that turns into something more. Now, I said in my TBR video that I wasn't sure how this book was going to go for me because it is a Wattpad book, and I find Wattpad books to be pretty hit or miss for me, but this one was a hit. I very, very much enjoyed this story. Obviously, there's a lot of representation in here, and I cannot speak to it as an own voices reviewer, but I did enjoy seeing it throughout the novel. I think that it really made the characters really dynamic, and it gave them something to focus on other than just the romance. I'll also say this is definitely a slow burn romance all the way up until the very end. It's really slow burn, so if that's something that you're looking for, this is a good one. I'll say a couple issues that I had with this novel is that I feel like it was just a little bit too long. Obviously, I read it on an E format, so I'm not sure of the exact page count. Goodreads says that it'll be 352 pages. I feel like it was a little bit long. It might have been advantageous to shorten it by about 50 pages. And I'll also say that every time that I had to put the book down, I wasn't like dying to pick it back up again. So it was a little bit hard to get through in that regard. And I do feel like that if it would have been a little bit shorter, that maybe that wouldn't have been an issue. But overall, I really, really loved getting to know these 2 characters as individuals and as friends, and then more than friends. This was a really hard-hitting yet sweet and fun contemporary. I will also say that I enjoyed this novel starts in the summer before they go off to college. So we get to see Brennan and Jonas throughout their freshman year of college, which was really, really nice. So it is still, I believe, considered YA, but we get to actually see the characters in college and going to college for the first time, which is an age range that I really enjoy and I don't feel like we see enough of. So overall, if you're looking for a diverse contemporary that is dealing with kids going to college for the first time, working through their own issues, and then a little bit of romance in there as well, this is a really good one. I definitely recommend picking it up. Overall, I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. That is it for everything that I read in the month of January. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and let me know what your favorite read of January was. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up, as well as going down to the subscribe button and the bell icon down below so that you never miss out on any of my content. So until next time, bye!